You know when you're watching a scene in a film and there's like someone, an actor that's fucking killing it, playing like a really, really terrible person. And there's that feeling of like being slightly uncomfortable, feeling slightly embarrassed, feeling a bit of a sensation in your stomach, but not being able to look away. Sometimes, not always, sometimes that's arousal, but we're not allowing ourselves to feel it. Hi, beautiful one. It's Cheryl. Quick intro to this week's video. This is all about embracing your sexuality so that you can be really honest about two things. One, who are you and what do you desire and who do you desire? And two, what type of partner do you actually want? Because we're not going to do all of this inner work and then end up in some like mediocre relationship with Captain Vanilla if we want someone that's like really in touch with their shadow side and into some kinky shit, right? Maybe that's not what you want. Maybe I'm projecting a little bit. But what it's about is us being honest about what it is we want from a partner instead of suppressing it and telling ourselves stories about how it's bad, wrong, shameful, good girls don't want something like that, or like whatever story we're telling ourselves that's stopping us from being honest about what it is we desire. And when we're not being honest about what we desire and what we're attracted to and what turns us on with other people, with different situations, whatever it is, when we're not being honest about it, it finds ways to like pop up in different areas of our life. So we'll see something in a movie or a TV show or a book and we'll think, oh, that's really, really hot. And that's like our place to explore it. But really, there's some nuggets there. There's some wisdom that we can mine from that experience, which is not random, where we can ask ourselves the question, the age-old question, why is this turning me on? And in other words, what we can say to ourselves is, okay, so what does this tell me about the type of partner that I actually want? Right? It doesn't mean that they're a carbon copy of what we're seeing on a screen or in a book, but there's something there that we're not quite accessing, right? Do we want someone that is successful? Do we want someone that's taken a non-traditional path? Do we want someone that's driven? Do we want someone that, is really in their purpose or that takes a pride in their appearance, or someone who's really smart, that's really motivated? Like, what do we actually want? It's not wrong. What you want isn't wrong. What happens between two emotionally healthy, consenting adults is up to them. It's all fine. It's all okay. So when we can get honest about that and then drop the shame around it and just own it, it clears the way to be able to find that partner, because you can't find that partner if you're not being honest about who they are. And also, this is the reason why, this is a really long intro, I do apologize, but it's also the reason why some people have that kind of magnetism and that like sexual aura. What we're feeling in their energy is that they've really embraced their sexuality, and that's what we're picking up on. And that's why there's that phenomenon that used to be called sexy ugly, probably isn't that politically correct, but that thing of like someone that isn't traditionally good looking being really sexy. Why is that? It's that they've embraced their sexuality. So guess what? Spoiler, you can do that too and become really, really attractive and magnetic by embracing the parts of you that you maybe haven't explored before. So enjoy the training. This is from my program, the Dating Drama Empowerment Method. I recorded this training on Sunday, so it's really fresh. If you want to join us for the Dating Drama Empowerment Method, it's actually not about sexuality. It's about the things that are on the screen now, really overcoming your dating drama and paving the way for the love that you actually want to call in. So if you want to join us for that, the details are down below. I've got a special deal on until Thursday where you can get a personal code to get 25% off, and then it will be released to the public. Enjoy the video. I love you. The point really with this training is that it's impossible to have what you want and experience what you want to experience in your life if you're not first honest with yourself about what that is, right? And that's true of relationships and the type of partner we want to be with, but it's also true of other things with business, money, the home we live in, the company we keep, how we want our body to look, how we want our life to be, how we want our life to feel. If you've got a personal brand, then it could be to do with visibility and media. Like, we can't get what we want if we don't know what that is, and we can't know what that is if we're not being honest with ourselves. So we're going to go into attraction here and sexuality. We're probably going to talk about some kinky shit. And we're also going to talk about attraction and the qualities of a partner that might be unexpected. I am keenly aware that when you have been in a pattern of attracting like the bad boys and the very dramatic dating dynamics, there's like a certain familiarity with pain and chaos and drama. And then when we heal it, it can feel very calm and peaceful, but sometimes it can feel a little bit dull. Now, I never want you to feel like I'm leading you into a place where you've got to be super vanilla in order to be emotionally healthy. I think part of being emotionally healthy is obviously having the skill set to help yourself to feel better, but there's also a part of emotional maturity where we have a healthy relationship with our shadow. And this doesn't mean you've got to date, Captain Vanilla. Maybe your ideal partner is fucking kinky as fuck. And let's talk about that. So there is a part of our mind, I think it's called like the dark side of the mind or something, but basically what it does is it doesn't allow us to really go there with dark, shadowy desires. And it almost like that information only shows itself in certain situations. So for example, if you're not really being honest with yourself about the type of partner you want to be with and about what you're attracted to and or what and who turns you on, then what's going to happen is you're going to be watching a TV show or a film or reading a book and you're going to be like, holy shit, this person's really fucking hot. Why is this turning me on? And you're going to like push it away or do the thing I used to do of like delving straight into like fan fiction and fan videos and like really not understanding what was going on or why I was doing it. And it was two things that was happening, and maybe this resonates with you. One, there was a need that was trying to be fulfilled. And two, there was a desire that wanted to be acknowledged. So let's break this down. Try to look at some of the patterns you've had. And we're going to stick with books, movies and TV as a medium. I have a Leo midheaven, so I'm very much about the art forms of books and movies and TV. So look at the characters or archetypes of real people, which is basically what these characters are. Look at the characters that you have been drawn to. I suppose the obvious example is like 50 Shades of Grey. People went absolutely gaga for this dude. Now, he's not my personal cup of tea. I didn't really like the way that they expressed him. He didn't have much depth for me. I thought it was a bit contrived. But I did write my own erotic novel back in 2016, which really helped me go through the process of like, actually, what is my shadow longing for? And what are some of the elements that really want to be expressed here? So why was it everyone was absolutely mad for like the 50 Shades of Grey guy? It's because of a couple things. One, I think many of us are kinky as fuck and we don't want to admit it because it's like, that's not what good girls do or whatever. Like, there's a lot of stigma around sex in general, but there's a lot of stigma around BDSM, especially for women. Like when we realize like that's our thing, there's a lot of stigma around it. And we judge ourselves for it. We feel guilt and shame and all this stuff. In addition to that, the reason why people went headfirst into 50 Shades of Grey was because this guy was powerful. He was successful. He was very much in his masculine energy. He was very driven. And I think many of us don't admit that we want a man like that. And when we don't admit it, it means we kind of let ourselves off the hook with becoming the kind of woman we need to be to attract a partner of that caliber. I think another reason why people were obsessed with 50 Shades is because there was also some weird attachment stuff there. Like he was very avoidant and very broken. And I think there was this pattern of like, give up your life for this person and then you'll like fix him. Like I think there's a line where he says something like, because I haven't read the books, but I've seen a few of the movies, which I thought honestly were a little vanilla. I'm like, this is fucking meant to be kinky. I spoke to a friend of mine who's also in the BDSM scene, and we were both talking about it. I'm like, this is not even that spicy. Like, I don't understand. So anyway, that's a little side note. But there was a line that I really flagged in one of the films where he was like, she basically had to give up her life to be with him. And he was like, I want this, and this. And she's like, but what do I get? And he said, oh, you get me. It's like, that's fucking so narcissistic. I would really not, if someone says that in real life, like run 1,000 miles away from them, because that is not a healthy individual. So I think it also, in a slightly more unhealthy way, played on people's attachment stuff and their patterns of like, oh, here's this unavailable man, let me rescue him. So I think that was going on too. So it's worth saying that. What else do we want to say about 50 Shades? I think that's pretty much it. But I think what it did is it tapped into this collective repressed sexuality and people realizing they were actually kinky as fuck. I think that in and of itself is a beautiful thing. I think that is great that people really embrace their sexuality. So let's look at then some of the shadowy archetypes we can become attracted to in books, movies, and TV shows, and what that tells us about what it is we want and need in a partner, and how we can access that in a really healthy way. So a pattern I noticed in myself, years ago, many moons ago, was that in TV shows and movies particularly, the villain was always my thing. I was like, why are the villains always so fucking hot? Do they like make them really attractive? Do they do this on purpose? I don't know. And I know I'm not alone in that experience. So I really got curious about why that was. What were the common themes and patterns I saw? Passionate about a theme and a pattern. What are some of the themes and patterns I saw within those like villain type characters, like the bad guy in the movie? Knowing that I was at a point in my life when I was emotionally healthy, I genuinely had a desire and have a desire to be with a partner who's a good person, who has heart, who has compassion, and who's an emotionally healthy individual with really healthy sense of self and healthy conflict resolution skills. At the same time, there's also a desire for this really healthy relationship with his shadow side. So what was I seeing then a couple years back where I wasn't really being honest with what I wanted, and how was it coming up in these, villainous kind of characters? So the patterns of the people that I was attracted to within these fictional realms, the area where my mind was kind of ringing almost a bell and saying, hey, there's something you need to look at here. The people were always, I'm hesitating on being honest here. I don't know why, because I never usually do. I guess I'm worried about being judged, but if I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna have to say it. And my hope in sharing this is that there's going to be something it unlocks for you. This is not just story time with Cheryl. This is something that I really hope it'll get you to access your shadow side and be honest about what it is you want. So what I was seeing, like my kryptonite, and it still to this day is, to be quite honest, my kryptonite in movies and TV is the immaculately dressed, softly spoken, articulate, intelligent criminal mastermind. Like, that's my fucking jam. That is so hot to me. Why is that? Well, there's a lot of different reasons why that is. But within that, what is that telling me about the kind of person that I want? Does it mean I want to date a mob boss? Absolutely fucking not. No. Don't find those people attractive in real life at all. And that's an important distinction to make. There's fantasy and reality. And what we're not saying that you want to go and date someone who has these exact traits. We're saying, what is it trying to tell you about the traits that you actually want? So does that mean I want to date a criminal mastermind? No, not at all. But let's look at some of those qualities that I mentioned. So intelligent, yeah, absolutely. I want someone who is really fucking smart. It's something I really value, and I think it's hot. I think it's sexy. It turns me on, right? I also really value someone who likes to dress smartly. Again, I think it's sexy. I think it's an attractive quality. Not all the time, but someone that, likes to dress well. I like it. I value that in myself. I like to, dress smart too. Though as I'm recording this, I'm wearing some crazy pattern pants and a jumper. But, here we are. It's Sunday. What can I tell you? Sunday afternoon. So that's something I really value, right? That like being like well turned out and taking a pride in your appearance, and that like being like well groomed is something that I value in another person. I value it in myself too. What else? So we've got the intelligence, taking a pride in your appearance. The thing about being articulate and softly spoken, again, I just think that's really attractive. That's a really attractive quality. I like that. I don't like people who have to shout to have their voice heard. I think there's something really sexy about a man who has that kind of aura of power without having to shout about it, you know, just like has that embodiment of power, that kind of, if you like, I hate this word. I really don't like it. I think it's been really twisted, but that alpha male, if you like, that dominant man who's really in his masculine, I find it super fucking hot. Can you see by how talking through that, I've taken a somewhat potentially problematic attraction to these very like unhealthy villainous archetypes and characters in movies and TV shows, to actually really understanding what's going on there, to actually understanding what need is not getting met and what desire is wanting to be acknowledged. And I was able to really like explore and play with those characters, which really helped me understand like actually what kind of partner do I want, which is now someone, as I mentioned, who has all those qualities of being emotionally healthy. He's done his inner work, he's emotionally mature, he's set up in his life, but he also has a shadow side that he can play with behind closed doors. And I think that's what's really important here. So knowing that, there might be something there for you to explore. Or maybe you went down the 50 Shades rabbit hole and you're like, oh, that's fucking hot. So like, just know that that's something you just need to accept about yourself. So sometimes you're not consciously aware of it, and here's what it can feel like, and here's what it felt like for me for a long time. I didn't even really know that I found them hot or attractive, these like, you know, dark shadowy archetype characters. What it felt like for me, and maybe this will resonate with you, is it kind of felt like, you know, when you're watching a scene in a film and there's like an actor that's fucking killing it, playing like a really, really terrible person. And there's that feeling of like being slightly uncomfortable, feeling slightly embarrassed, feeling a bit of a sensation in your stomach, but not being able to look away. Sometimes, not always, sometimes that's arousal, but we're not allowing ourselves to feel it. So if there's like, I don't know, a scene in a movie that you like to watch back on repeat, maybe that's just something to think about. You know, you're like, is this turning me on? Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. Good to know. Now I know that. What am I going to do with that? You know?